of us will dispute that our current tax laws are far too complicated, and many seem to think they favor the rich. And we're often told they pay far less in taxes than the rest of us. But will newly proposed tax reform fix all of that? Well, we've got you covered, because here to sort through it all and tell us what we need to know and what it might mean for our wallets, more importantly, is Shari.
Yeah. Well, break it all down for us. I mean, this came out. I mean, I have to say, what I heard sounded like some interesting points.
It's looking good, and not only that, Roxanne, but it's looking like something like this is actually going to pass. So it's something we want to pay attention to. Now, what most of us care about is what percentage of our income are we going to be paying in taxes.
Exactly.
That's the first thing. And from that standpoint, it actually looks really good. It's breaking down the tax categories into people who earn up to $25,000, $50,000, $150,000, and then over $150,000. And we've got this on the full screen. For most of us, our tax rate will actually be lower. Even the highest earners will only be paying 35%, which is about 5% less than what they're paying now. The other thing that we're all really concerned about is, in addition to our tax rate, what deductions and exclusions will we still have? So as far as the tax rate goes, we're winners. As far as the deductions and exclusions go, some of us are winners and some of us are going to be losers. So if you take a standard deduction, in other words, you don't itemize, the standard deduction will be doubled. So those folks are going to be winners. But if you itemize your deductions, which we were talking, you and I think both do, those folks may be losers, because a lot of those exclusions and deductions will be going away. The bad news is, for example, folks in places where there are high local or state taxes, those will no longer be deductible. Not a good thing.
Right.
But the mortgage interest deduction, charitable contributions, retirement savings, those will all stay.
They will stay.
Absolutely.
So some deductions, well, see, this is where
most
I know.
will go away.
But most are going to go away.
Those folks are going to be losers if you itemize.
Will those people taking a lot of deductions then be able to say, okay, I'm just going to double the initial deduction off the top?
You can take the standard if you want. And the thought is that about 30% of the people, about 25% of the people who are still itemizing will be able to take the standard deduction and do just as well.
President Trump has said, he said it on the campaign trail, and then he said when he introduced this, that it helps the middle class, and his interest is to help the middle class. So does it seem to do that?
Well, it does, because it simplifies the code. It also will put more money in most of our pockets. But the other big provision goes to businesses, and rather than paying 35% now, which businesses pay, that will be reduced to 15%. So businesses are the big winner, and the reason for that is because President Trump has said that he wants to encourage businesses to come into this country. Back in the 1980s, we had one of the best tax rates for businesses, so we had foreign businesses wanting to do business here. Now we have one of the worst. So that will basically reverse that, which theoretically will stimulate the economy and help with investment. But the thing is that there are a lot of studies that show that doing that with tax policy does increase investment in the country. It doesn't do that much to help the GDP and the economy. Really impacting that is going to require a combination of tax policy, trade policy, fiscal policy, incentives for research and development, education reform, and a lot more.
But if some of this goes through, from what I'm understanding from your kind of doing the quick math on it, if the middle class, if there's more money in wallets, they would spend more money.
That's
more people can go to college, and there's more money around to do things.
And it does look like this is going to go through, or something like this, Roxanne. There are other proposals floating around, one of which includes also a border adjustment tax, so that imports will be taxed. That's probably going to end up being included. But right now it looks like they've got the support in the House, and the Senate can approve this with a 50 votes, as long as it balances, so it doesn't add to our national debt.
Probably shouldn't be a one-and-done topic. We should probably talk about this a little bit more.
Because I think it's going to happen.
All right, thanks, Shari.
Let's send things over to Felicia for a look at this forecast. Under 8.5 hours until the gates